where we talk about languages and language learning and all sorts of other stuff, and we play games.
This is Elise with an update on the ongoing Inessa Armand translation project. We now have 37 of the 38 extant essays and speeches by Inessa Armand translated into English for the first time, and we are just short of the halfway mark on the fundraising progress as well. This enrichment of the English language Marxist canon has only been possible with your support, and it's been a real lifeline for me. So anyone who would like to support this project can find links in the description for how to do so, and everybody who has already supported it has my sincerest thanks.
Perfect. Okay, 3 of 4.
El hospital.
還元一級の先というのは、本当に誰も知らない字ばっかりでしょうね。私は
Okay, we've leveled up and it is time to pick another language. Mordfar är tröttare än vanligt. Maten är färdig. And let's see what we're doing when we get back. Greek. We're doing Greek when we get back. Ben neredeyse her gün okula giderim. Fun fact. Turkish. Hello, Shakespeare. How you doing? Fun fact, in Spanish, the word for bishop in chess is alfil. And that actually comes from Arabic. Fil. The same word fil as this. Meaning elephant, because the bishop traditionally was to represent elephant units somehow. Similarly, in Russian, the word for bishop is squab, and that also means elephant.
This is Elise with an update on the ongoing Inessa Armand translation project. We now have 37 of the 38 extant essays and speeches by Inessa Armand translated into English for the first time, and we are just short of the halfway mark on the fundraising progress as well. This enrichment of the English language Marxist canon has only been possible with your support, and it's been a real lifeline for me. So anyone who would like to support this project can find links in the description for how to do so, and everybody who has already supported it has my sincerest thanks.
Ça, c'est ça, que c'est ça, non ça, c'est ça. Sol chi sa che nulla sa, ne sa più di chi ne sa. Ecco.
Bonjour et bienvenue à Hyper Polyglotting avec Élise. Moi c'est Élise, traductrice, éditrice et écrivain avec 20 ans de travail. Et ça c'est la transmission en direct ou en jeu des jeux, surtout GeoGuessr en dernier temps. Et parle des langues, de la linguistique, de l'acquisition des langues.
10-159. Haven't made a huge dent in it, but we're getting there. Okay, gonna do some Chinese now. Night.
Hello, and welcome to Hyperpolyglotting with Elise. I'm Elise, translator, writer, and editor with 20 working languages, and this is the stream where we're going to play some GeoGuessr and look at some more of the best and perhaps not so best of language learning YouTube. How's everybody doing, chat? Okay, let's get started with some daily challenge. I almost beat my personal record yesterday, and would have beaten it if it weren't for Taiwan having a whole island that I had no idea about. Let's see if maybe we can do better today. Hey, Badger, how you doing? Not too bad, not too bad. Okay, private property, no trespassing. It's English, it's by a body of water. Owned and maintained by residents of Alwington Place only. Okay, this feels very Canusa. Very suburban Canusa. Let's see, what's that? Okay, I haven't seen that fire hydrant configuration before. That's Canada Post. Yeah. So I'm gonna just have a wild punt and say we're someplace in Ontario, because most people are. 4214, where was it? Oh, Kingston! I know somebody in Kingston. Okay, this is probably not Canusa. Yeah, definitely not. We got this churchical-looking building. Cementerio Civil. Okay, Spanish-speaking place. Solo peatone. Okay. So, wherever we are, they speak Spanish. Graffiti. Does the graffiti give me anything to go on? No, not really. Yo tan de Fernandito y tú tan... no sé. Also, these, let me see. Horario de apertura de 9 a 19 hora. Okay, this is starting to feel like it might be Spain. Actually. Oh, but a stop sign would really help to clarify that. Madrid, Gijón, Tole, Tuco, Yumi. Okay. Yeah, Spain. I'm gonna say Gijón. 49.94. That may be the best score I've ever had on a daily challenge. Okay, Glilot, Nestle, okay. אנחנו בישות הציונית. לואיס פרונייד, טיילת, לואי. Okay, someplace coastal, clearly. Wait a second, Baha'i, does it say? Baha'i Gardens. Okay, I know where we are. That's Haifa. Here we are, right there. 5,000. Okay, that is the best score I've ever had on a daily challenge. Okay, my immediate feeling is we're in Australia. Possibly WA. Except, I don't know. That sign doesn't say anything to me. OSBRA? Not even sure what language that is. Yeah, I mean, if it said... for a second I thought it said Obras, and that would put us someplace Spanish or Portuguese speaking, but we are not. It does not say Obras. Okay, 60 kilometers an hour. It's green, but with red clay soil, which is interesting. Okay. Actually, it looks like right side driving. So, not Australia, not NZ, not South Africa. Rota de fuga. Atenção, reduz a velocidade. Okay. Portuguese speaking place. Usina hidrelétrica de Ilumbiara. We are someplace in Brazil. $31.70. For Brazil, not terrible. Is the trouble with Brazil is on a time control, you will never get, I mean, unless you're really, really lucky or know lots of names of small towns. Precaución a 500 metros rotonda. Okay, Spanish-speaking place, clearly. You may never get a clear indication of what part of the country you're in. Tiene como, no sé, pinta patagónica. Velocidad controlada por radar. Del Sol. Yeah, I mean, we're something Spanish speaking, and my feeling is Chile or Argentina. It's very flat, which makes me think also possibly Patagonia. Which is, oh, hang on, what did that say? Barrio Chacra. Ni idea. Pero Chacra, Policía Federal Argentina, Delegación Río Grande. Ok, sí, estamos en la Patagonia Argentina. Oh shit, I was right at first. I thought I was in Tierra del Fuego, and then I didn't see it, and so I started moving north. But not too bad. And I was right, it was Patagonia. I also just noticed there are two places called Coyhaique in Patagonia. There's one in Chile, spelled Coyhaique, and the other one, which I only just noticed on the map right now, is spelled Koy, second word Aike. But they're both Coyhaique. Interesting. I had no idea. 21,000 on a daily challenge? Not terrible. Not bad at all, really. I mean, I had 2 perfect scores, or near perfect scores. Okay, we're on World, and we are almost certainly in some Canusa type place. Canusa is the term I've decided to use instead of saying Canada or US. Okay, sign says stop and not arrêt. Yarmouth Drive. No, my hair is still drying. 803 area code. Blurry. Okay, how do I get to a main road? Oh, hey, hang on a second. What did that say? Is that 10 miles an hour? Yes, we're in the US. Okay, that narrows it down to a lot. There is a lot of US. This feels kind of Midwestern. Definitely more northern. I mean, if it weren't for the area code, I'd say it was someplace in Ohio. There are definitely plenty of places around here that look almost identical to this. Okay. This looks like a bit more of a main road anyway. So, someplace in the US. I mean, we can rule out the Southwest more or less completely. Although, what's that? Are those palm trees? Like, attempted palm trees? Wheatley. Reverend Samuel Whatley from Ayr. Name means nothing to me. Those aren't signs. Steve's Classic Burgers. Steve's Classic Burgers. Ashland Park. There's an Ashland in Kentucky, but it doesn't look like this. Big ass US flag, and what looks like maybe an interstate actually. Next exit right. So okay, we're on some kind. We're right next to some kind of highway. Countertopscolumbia.com. Exit 70. I-20. I-20, okay. So... oh, I-20, there we go, Alabama. Sawyerville, Greensboro. I'm gonna just jump onto I-20 here. That's what I think this is. Dutch Square. No idea. Interesting. It's still called Dunkin' Donuts here. Hey, Riveroon, how you doing? 9999999. St. Andrews Road. Well, okay, how far up does I-20 go? Oh, no, wait, I-20 is actually pretty long. Ah, not bad. I found a really good Palestinian takeaway last night. Okay, oh, it goes from Atlanta, Augusta, shit, okay. So this doesn't narrow it down a whole hell of a lot, actually. Oh, wait, Columbia. St. Andrews. There we go. Aw. Doesn't speak highly of my stream last night, I suppose. 49.87. Not beating any personal records today, but not a bad score at all. And spent the night looking at the ins and outs of getting ATA certified. Ding. Okay, we are in Chiayi. We're in Chiayi province, not province, county of Taiwan. Is what I've been curious about. Is, like, the ATA described their certification exam as extremely rigorous. When you look at what the exam involves, it does not immediately strike me as particularly daunting. It seems like the sort of stuff I do as a translator all the time. And so I'm sort of curious. I was looking to see if anyone on, like, YouTube or anyone had described their experiences with it to shed some light on whether it is in fact as difficult as it's made out to be. Like, I'd sent in a query to the ATA to, ask if it's possible to take more than one online accreditation exam in an exam period, and they said yes, but we don't advise it because these exams are so rigorous and everything like that. And it's like, okay, but, like, how rigorous do people who've passed it describe it as? So decided to look around, and the grading, apparently only 20% of the people who take it pass. But on the other hand, the description of what it is, and the amount of time you're given to do it, doesn't seem so bad. Like, relative to this sort of work I've been doing for quite a long time. Oh, sorry to hear that. Okay. 中国文化大学音乐 英国语学习呀，工业类废管。Okay. Okay. Well, I'm fairly certain we are in Chiayi County. Someplace. Okay, on Route 40. What's not entirely clear to me is which of these constitutes a national route. Well, okay, that helps. So these rounded triangles seem to stay the same from one county to another. So those must be national. Hang on, is there any other? Let's see. Taoyuan. Yeah, it kind of has to be Chiayi County. High Heel Church. Interesting concept. Does the church itself have high heels? Is it a church where you can buy them? Or is it a church where everyone has to wear them? $49.75. Ah, you have to zoom in pretty far to get those. Oh, we didn't really even get started on that. That was I had like after traveling Israel, there was like 10 minutes. There was a 10-minute period before the stream ended, and Polyms of Oakham, Newnham Lodge Farm. Okay. Oh yeah, maybe that's it. Okay, so we're in Britain. We didn't really properly get started on that one. So it ended up being so much bullshit to respond to in that traveling Israel video. The barn. Is the barn like a pub, or is it just a barn? Pub and restaurant, okay. Country pub. Like those. I mean, I'm gonna guess this is probably England someplace. Kind of flat, which suggests maybe Lincolnshire, maybe Rutland. Sounds exhausting. Wibtoft, Claybrook Parva, Monks Kirby, Brinklow. Yeah, we are definitely out in the back blocks here. Never heard of Wibtoft. Nuneaton, Cirencester, Leicester. Oh wow, I wasn't too far off with Rutland. The B4114, the A429. Okay, so Hinckley and Nuneaton are west of this. Let's see, Grantham, Burton-upon-Trent, Derby, Ashbourne, Sleaford, Matlock, Rugeley, or okay, there's Nuneaton. Earl Shilton. There's Hinckley. Okay. Old Ollie. That's what you trade in at a motorcycle shop. Trade in Old Ollie. Fenny Drayton. I feel like we were actually there on one of the streams the past couple of weeks. Wolvie Heath. Okay, what about Wibtoft, though? Atherstone, Baxterley, Bentley, Sheepy Magna. There's a name. Orton on the Ill. Norden Juxta Twycross. Gongestone. Seckington. No Man's Heath. They have great names and great English country names here. Orkthorpe. I want to know why it's called No Man's Heath. Is it like not a heath? Shuttington. Wharton. Arleston. Appleby Magna, Packington. Ashby de la Zouche. Griffydam, Whitwick. Peckleton. Blabby. Wigston. We're after Wibtoft. Peatling Parva. Upper Bruntingthorpe. Husbands Bosworth. Okay, but hang on, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Okay, Cirencester is also... So we're east of Cirencester 2, and it's the B4455. So, okay, hang on. So there's Leicester. There's Nuneaton. Wibtoft. There we are. Claybrook, Magna, Ullersthorpe, Newnham Paddocks, Monks Kirby, Sharnford, Burbage. Great names. Okay, Coventry, Nuneaton. Old Alley, Magna Park, Stony Stanton. Ah, there's Burbage. Wibtoft. $49.90. Not bad. Okay. 133, 143. What flag is that? Is that... Oh, I think we're in Sweden, possibly? I mean, it could be Sweden. The flag certainly suggests Sweden. Like, are there any signs anywhere? Fucking signless zone. Oh, hang on, there was a sign, finally. Just as I'm complaining about the lack of them. Nice Petersonsby. Okay. Not Sweden, actually. Probably. Oh, hang on. That might have clarified something. But it didn't. It might have. It very well might have, but it did not, in fact, clarify anything. Oh, hang on. What were we looking at there? Okay. Yeah. Folk på vägen. Yeah, definitely not Sweden. Well, at this point, that is very clear. Alarm. Denmark. Børne have. So we are someplace in Denmark. In very suburban Denmark. Okay, can't go there, annoyingly. I'm like stuck in the Dane burbs. Okay. 4418. Not too bad. Okay, we got palm trees, we got red clay, we've got green. We've got a sign that I can't see yet. And it's in Portuguese. Starting fires is a crime. Okay, this keeps on not letting me just move forward like I was hoping to. Okay, feels a bit like Belo Horizonte. Like, okay. I can find a main road in here someplace. That may take a while, though. Ah, Paraíba. 1430. Not my best round. Okay, we are in a place where the stop signs say stop. That rules out South America, Central America. Osim vozila hepa. Okay, that's beginning to feel like we're in Croatia. Yeah, I feel like we're in Croatia. Between that sign and the sea. Is that Croatia has a very long coast. They basically got all the coast. Like Bosnia didn't get shit. They just Croatia, just the whole shape of it. Get out of Denmark. I mean, look at this. See, there's Bosnia, right? And it just almost gets to have a coastline, but Croatia just sort of swoops in. And it's not Montenegro because Montenegro has Cyrillic on the signs in addition to Latin alphabet. So, almost certainly, I mean, I guess Slovenia is a possibility, but Croatia has way more coastline than Slovenia, so I'm thinking Croatia. I think I've finally found a good lighting scheme. I took my softbox off the tripod and just positioned it in a little basket of stuff so that it's hitting sort of the back of my head, and I think it's actually the best lighting I've had. Finally. That is complicated. Getting lighting that looks good on camera doesn't like make you look either half dead or like some kind of a demon is complicated. Are we gonna get a sign that actually gives me a place name or something that we're near? Sometime? Like, okay, 60 kilometers an hour, very good. But, like, between what and what? I mean... It's really quite a lovely view. Actually, that's probably a clue here. There's land on either side. So it could be the northern end of the Croatia armpit shaped thing. I imagine they probably, especially Croatia tourism, probably doesn't like you to call it that. But geographically speaking, on the map, it is kind of shaped that way. I mean, it's just like, you can't help the fact that Florida's just a dick state. Come on, give me something here. I mean, other than a really quite lovely view. I feel like I really ought to find a way to get down to this place sometime. Oh, here we go. We got a sign. Velirat Bojava Burbin. Savar. Okay. Sin. Šibenik Primošten. Opuzen Metković. Yeah, that's right. There are these islands that it could also be. I mean, it could be near Split, which is supposed to be lovely, incidentally. Prapatnica, Szeged, Gornji, Lećevica. Primošten, Zečevo. Okay, govno. Okay, Velirat, Bojava, Burbin, Savar. Wherever we are, the water is right there, so that kind of limits the options. Biograd na moru, Sveti Filip I Jakov. Sveti Petar Ždrelac, Dobropoljana, kraj Ugrinić, Tkon. Okay, Zemunik Donji, Crno, Smoković. Smoković sounds like the name, like in a bad movie, the name of a Croatian guy who sells weed. Smoković. Privlaka, Zaton, Grbe, Ninski, Stanović, Žerova, Ražanac, Rtina, Mišković, Smokvica, Barić, Draga. Okay. Sibuljina, Tribanje, Lukova, Šugarja. Velirat, Cesarica, Novalja, Stara Novalja, Jablanac, Barbac, Rab, Velike Brisnice, Stari Grad. There's a Stari Grad right there, and there's two of them. It means old city. And apparently a very popular name. Melnice, Vrzici, Crni Kraj, Pijavica, Bunica, Bashka, Sveti Ivan, Stara Bashka, Punat, Krk. A vowelless name. The R is a syllable. Sveti Petar, Ivanje, Važimine, Filzici, Vodice, Merag, Loznati, Mali Podol, Orlec, Krmov, Stivan, Belej, Sveti Yakov. Didn't we just have Sveti Yakov? Ilovik. Oh, come on. It's Bunica, Smokvica, Krmpotska, Klenovica, Drinak, Vinodolski, Ledenice, Šmrika, Drivenik, Vela, Učka, Mošćenička, Draga, Kalac, Sveta Jelena, Golovik. Trget. Now we're almost in Italy. Klostar, Flengi, Vrsar, Fontana, Novigrad. Well, we've seen like 3 Stadigrads now. There's a Novigrad, new city. Cerveniver, Red Heights. And that is already Italy. Let's see, which direction are we going in? We're going north. Which makes sense, because, I mean, any kind of long road... I mean, it's a very narrow coastal strip, so you're more likely to have... Brbin trajekt I Savar. Zaglav trajekt, Savar. We're gonna go to Savar. Maybe that will give us more clues about where we are exactly. Not much to Savar so far. That's all of Savar? Ah, no. Okay. Okay, an actual town. This will potentially help. Right, so Savar is also right on the coast. Okay, so this is a very narrow strip, wherever this is. I mean, okay, so there's Dubrovnik. Also supposed to be lovely. Štýkovic, Trsteno. Slano. Stone, Mali Stone, Luka. Oh, this is the entire sea access that Bosnia gets. This is it, right here. They got that. Neum. I'm gonna say it's someplace near Split and then have a little bio break. Ah, hell, it was on one of the islands. 45:59 anyway, not too bad. Okay, quick bio break. Back in AMO.
Hi, and welcome to Hyperpolyglotting with Elise. I am Elise, translator, editor, and writer with 20 working languages, and this is where we talk about languages and language learning and all sorts of other stuff, and we play games.
This is Elise with an update on the ongoing Inessa Armand translation project. We now have 37 of the 38 extant essays and speeches by Inessa Armand translated into English for the first time. And we are just short of the halfway mark on the fundraising progress as well. This enrichment of the English language Marxist canon has only been possible with your support, and it's been a real lifeline for me. So anyone who would like to support this project can find links in the description for how to do so, and everybody who has already supported it has my sincerest thanks.
Perfect. Okay, 3 of 4.
還元一級の先というのは本当に誰も知らない字ばっかりでしょうね。私は
Okay, we've leveled up and it is time to pick another language. Morfar är tröttare än vanligt. Maten är färdig. And let's see what we're doing when we get back. Greek. We're doing Greek when we get back. Ben neredeyse her gün okula giderim. Fun fact. Turkish. Hello, Shakespeare. How you doing? Fun fact, in Spanish, the word for bishop in chess is alfil. And that actually comes from Arabic. Fil. The same word fil as this. Meaning elephant, because the bishop traditionally was to represent elephant units somehow. Similarly, in Russian, the word for bishop is skor, and that also means elephant. Okay.
This is Elise with an update on the ongoing Inessa Armand translation project. We now have 37 of the 38 extant essays and speeches by Inessa Armand translated into English for the first time. And we are just short of the halfway mark on the fundraising progress as well. This enrichment of the English language Marxist canon has only been possible with your support, and it's been a real lifeline for me. So anyone who would like to support this project can find links in the description for how to do so, and everybody who has already supported it has my sincerest thanks.
Ça, ça, c'est ça, ça, che c'est ça, non ça, c'est ça. Sol chi sa che nulla sa, ne sa più di chi ne sa. Ecco.
Bonjour et bienvenue à Hyperpolyglotting avec Élise. Moi, c'est Élise, traductrice, éditrice et écrivain avec 20 ans de travail. Et ça, c'est la transmission en direct ou en jeu des jeux, surtout GeoGuessr en dernier temps. Et parle des langues, de la linguistique, de l'acquisition des langues.
10-159. Haven't made a huge dent in it, but we're getting there. Okay, gonna do some Chinese now. Night. Night. Come on. Yen. Yo. 5. Ducks are drinking wine. Bambas. Bamba, okay, Bambas is duck. Okay, I have now leveled up. Let's see what the XP situation is now. 10,340 out of 12,500. And as always, viewers can choose my next language for me just with a follow and a $5 to my Patreon.
Sotto le frasche del capanno 4 gatti grossi stanno. Sotto 4 grossi sassi, 4 grossi e grassi gatti. Un généreux déjeuner régénéré des généraux dégénérés. Un généreux déjeuner régénéré des généraux dégénérés. Facile. Sì, ecco, la gente... è la cosa che mi dice la gente, sempre che scoprisce che quante lingue parlo. Io sempre avevo l'impressione, diciamo, di che non era così, non era tan così, ma poi dopo di aver visto qualche poliglota in YouTube, una delle cose che avevo scoperte era giustamente che la metodologia usata da quella gente poliglota che non avevo mai conosciuta prima, era più o meno la stessa metodologia che usavo io.
I buy a computer or what? And here's another example. I like to point these out. For this word for or, but sounds vaguely like Hogun and the Hok in Hogun in Korean or Waku in Japanese, and that means it is the exact same kind of character.
Okay, let me see.
Un chasseur, sa son chassé, ses chassés sont son chien de chasse.
Der dicke Dach.
Okay, der dicke Dachdecker deckt dir dein Dach, drum dank dem dicken Dachdecker, dass der dicke Dachdecker dir dein Dach deckt. Hola y bienvenidos al directo de Hyperpolyglotting with Elise. Yo soy Elisa, traductora, escritora y editora y comunicadora social con más de 20 idiomas de trabajo. Y aquí vamos a estar jugando videojuegos, sobre todo GeoGuessr, y hablando de idiomas, la mejor forma de aprenderlo y caleta más. Zwei Zwetschgenzweigen zwitscherten zwei tschechische Schwalben. Tres tristes tigres tragaban trigo en un trigal en tres tristes trastos.
Oh, I see. This is Diche Ishai Fui, which means do you want food? But yeah, are you hungry? That also means. How are the boys? Cocine da boya. Poso milao.
Pote.
Pote.
Proteine.
ese, proteine. Utros protobulo. In the designated chicken-eating area, obviously.
Okay, still 3 times I have to defeat him. And I don't have a whole lot of health left. This is Elise with an update on the ongoing Inessa Armand translation project. We now have 37 of the 38 extant essays and speeches by Inessa Armand translated into English for the first time. And we are just short of the halfway mark on the fundraising progress as well. This enrichment of the English language Marxist canon has only been possible with your support, and it's been a real lifeline for me. So anyone who would like to support this project can find links in the description for how to do so, and everybody who has already supported it has my sincerest thanks.
Messieurs, livre. Liwe, livre.
Mustan kissan paksut posket.
Mathieu. Yeah. See.
And I'm back. Okay, so we were just in Croatia. And yeah, not beating the record this week. It looks like. Came so close though. Now we appear to be in Canusa. Feels very Midwestern to me. Arboretum. State Route no one. Oh wait, okay, that's handy. So State Route 1992, I believe that stands for. That is kind of useful. I've never noticed that that's, that being on a street sign like that before. Okay. The woods. Yes, I know. It's definitely the woods. Oh no. Okay, that does not say that there's a state route coming up. That is something completely unrelated. So, that being the case, we still do not actually know for sure which side of the line we're on. We know we're in a dead end here, so I should have turned. Let's see where this takes us. Another very pretty area. We've gotten some very nice little areas here. Yeah, let's keep on this road. Speed limit 25. Oh wait, no outlet. Shit. Okay, we're not keeping on this road because we're just gonna end up having to back up. But we're in the US. That much is clear. Fuck. How many dead ends have we got here? Don't tell me this is the same no outlet I just turned out of. Rhododendron cut. Dead end. Oh, wait. Now we're back in the woods. That's a dead end. Community watch. Orange County Deputy something. Sheriff, probably. Okay. So, we've gotten out of one set of dead ends, and hopefully are not going to end up in another one. If this is Orange County, it certainly isn't the one in California. Okay, gonna continue down this way because I feel like we'll end up someplace, some kind of main road eventually. But at the very least, yeah, there's a stop sign coming up. That helps. The Junk Luggers need concrete 919. Mosquito Tech. I don't think I want mosquitoes developing technology, personally. Enough of a pain in the ass without it. Okay. This definitely feels like we're headed to someplace now. Wait, this is Rhododendron Drive again. Did we just come from here? Gotta be fucking kidding me. Serrano Way, like the Chili's. Could this be that Orange County? It does not feel like Southern California. There's absolutely nothing about this that feels like Southern California. But then Serrano... as a street name does feel kind of southwestern. I'm growing some serrano chilies right now. Oh no. Bollocks. How about marking the streets that aren't dead ends wherever this is? I mean, it's pretty clear that virtually all of the streets are dead ends here. Okay, we're at Arboretum and Bayberry. Let's see how long we go before we hit a dead end here. Oh, shut up. That, hang on. Shut up? I'm not sure why I said that. Entering South Orange Fire District. Okay. .919 area code. second, that looked like a cop car and doing a speed trap or something. Okay, there's another dead end. We're gonna get away from this dead end. I'm gonna stick to 2-lane roads if we can, and hopefully we're gonna get the hell out of this suburb and into someplace that tells us where we actually are. Fed. Oh, here we go. Finally. Traffic Division, Southern Protection Agency. The hell is that? The hell is the Southern Protection? I mean, that sounds dodgy as shit. Southern Protection Agency. Sounds like some kind of fash paramilitary, but I don't think they would have a traffic division. So probably not that, but still, dodgy ass name. But yeah, okay, that suggests anyway. What the clue there was that we are in the southeast. So, but actually it was, I mean, judging from that map, this could be anywhere from like, okay, Sparrow and Mount Carmel Cemetery. From like Kentucky to Florida to Texas. And that... North Carolina Public Schools. That helps. That helps a lot. So North Carmel, North Carolina. Mount Carmel, North Carolina. And I guess maybe there's an Orange County in North Carolina? Mount Airy. Oh, there's one of those in Cincinnati, too. Littleton, Roanoke Rapids. Fuckway, Varina. Grifton. Ah, Moyog. Oh, I know that. Pine Tops, Mount Olive. Albemarle, Locust, Kannapolis, Lincolnton, Tryon, Chucky, Burnsville, Blowing Rock, Chakawinity. Interesting name. Okay. So what we're establishing here is that Mount Carmel is probably a fairly small place. But I get the feeling it is probably someplace that is a suburban area, so probably not far from a relatively large place. Cardinal Grove, Nightdale, Shotwell. Pine Forest. Okay. Well, okay, we know what state we're in anyway. It's not entirely clear what part of that state we're in, and it happens to be one of the larger ones. Screw it. We'll just say someplace in central North Carolina. Probably around here. 4778. I wasn't too far off. Okay. Pretty body of water of some kind. Looks probably like a lake. I get the feeling we're doing left-hand driving, but maybe not. No, we're not. Okay. Let me just say, if you're enjoying the stream, at the moment, support for my various projects is kind of my main source of income. It's a real lifeline for me, so... Smukuchai! Okay, we're in Lithuania. We're someplace in Lithuania. So, anyone who would like to support my projects, they're helping me stay... Yeah, just keep going in general. Right now I'm trying to raise like $3,000 to cover some back bills and just general living expenses and things like that. And all support is very much appreciated. I'm gonna just drop a little link in chat for anyone who would like to, if you... Nobody should feel under any kind of pressure, but if you... And certainly I understand that everybody's kind of fucked at the moment, but if you can and you'd like to, it is always very much appreciated. As we try to figure out where exactly in Lithuania we are. Someplace around here, maybe. Oh, not bad. Not bad. I was 38 kilometers off. 48.76. Not record-breaking, but not too bad. Okay, English-speaking place. Feels Canusa. Very sunny. Okay, I was hoping that might be a flagpole because that could narrow things down a bit. But it was a lamp. Okay, how the hell do we get out of here? This endless car park. Is there a way out of this car park? Aegis Law Firm. Irvine Center Drive. Okay, that begins to feel very Southern California. And Protocol. Jamboree Road. Okay. See if there's an Irvine Center Drive around here. That's going north-south, roughly. Irvine Center Drive. Got it. Yale. Jeffrey. Hello, Atta. How you doing? We're looking for Protocol. Quasar, Pacifica, Antiguo Encanto, Bake, Research, Scientific, Tesla, Lake Forest, and that's the end of Irvine Center Drive. Molino, Telmo, Pintado, Pacifica, Gateway, Discovery, Laguna Canyon, Odyssey, Sand Canyon, Valley Oak. Oh, sorry to hear about your headache. I'm not bad. Irvine Center Drive and Protocol. That's a pretty major street, though. Harvard, Aviator. But then it turns into Eddinger Avenue. Here, Hearthstone. Jeffrey. I mean, we know it's around here someplace. Spectrum Business, Barranca, Gateway, Alton Parkway, Quasar. Damn it. Antiguo. Hubble, Bake. Triton, Granite. Oh, and then it's already molten. Hell. I'm not sure where we are exactly. I mean, I've narrowed it down fairly well. But I can't seem to find the intersection. Ah, damn it. There we go. Irvine Center Drive. Sand Canyon, Valley Oak, College. Fuck it, we'll say around here. 7.8 kilometers. It's all the way over here. I see. But I don't see protocol anywhere. 49.74. Not bad, though. Okay. Horse country, it looks like. Okay, so not North America. Not Canusa, certainly. Feels fairly European. No, it is Australia. Pottsville, Hastings Point, Cabarita Beach, Cudgera Creek Road. Okay. Sounds Victorian. Pottsville, Hastings Point, Cabarita Beach. Sandy Point, Port Welshpool, Golden Beach. Korumburra, Inverloch, Wonthaggi. Port Fairy, Cape Bridgewater. We'll keep going for a bit. See what we can see. Okay, this is going northeast. Mernan Bridge. Hardy Drive. No through road. Okay, so we're in Australia. That much is clear. We're in a very green part of Australia. Burringba, Mooball. So that begins to feel like maybe the Jervis Bay Territory. The territory everyone forgets about. Louise Beach. See if we can find another example of that type of a street sign. 38. So it's a pentagon facing upward, and it's red. Tasmania, maybe? Okay, I'm gonna say someplace by Sydney. No, it was, well, I got the right state, but practically in Queensland. So not my best showing, but you can't have that every time. Okay, I had a suggestion from my comments on yesterday's stream. And so I thought we might look at that. That is, okay, commenter, what was the name? Iskoi210 had a whole list of possible videos to check out. And one of them was, why does nearly every language YouTuber say this, by Evil D? And it is a response, apparently, to a video by Angelo van Rooij. Language learning YouTube has a huge problem. So we're going to start out and just have a look at Angelo van Rooij's video, and then move on to Evil D's video. Let me just get the chat widget so I can see what's going on in chat. Always on top. Okay, I'm gonna just drop this link in chat. I'm not familiar with Angelo van Rooij, but we're gonna get to know him a little bit, I suppose, and then we're gonna look at Evil D's response to it. So this is language learning YouTube has a huge problem.
So there's this problem I've noticed in this online language learning space when it comes to actually speaking the language. And it's the fact that people are so obsessed with speaking the language. If you speak a language, then that is social proof and credibility that you are better than this other person who doesn't speak this many languages, you know? For example, this polyglot speaks 5 languages and this other one speaks 10 languages, and therefore he's perceived as having more authority on this subject to talk about languages, and you should probably trust him.
I mean, I think that is a thing that does happen, although I think there is also some validity to that in the sense that, I mean, what you're doing is saying that if somebody is getting a certain result, then they will know how to achieve that result. So, I mean, that isn't completely wrong.
He speaks more languages. So the whole idea is that the competence in this language is measured by how well you speak the language. So,
I mean, of course, one of the various imprecisions is we often say we speak a language as just a general statement of knowing a language. It encompasses the understanding, the reading, the listening, and all of that stuff. So it is a very imprecise term.
why is this a problem? Well, if you break it down, which is what I'm going to do, you will see that it doesn't make any sense. And yet society perceives this as completely normal, right? I'm sure you've been in a situation where you speak a language and people are like, wow, you are so good at languages. Please, how do you do it? How do I learn a language?
I mean, yes, I have had that experience, certainly.
You are perceived as somebody who knows a lot because you speak more languages. So I'm going to share with you my thoughts in 3 parts based off of my experience, what I think, in my opinion, is language, like the nature of language, how we learn it, acquire it. Because I believe that
I'm going to kind of speed through this because I want to get to Evil D's response.
First, I want to show you this clip because this is actually what triggered my thoughts, or triggered the idea of making this video. So some context, I guess I'm watching this guy who is watching another guy who's been doing comprehensible inputs, so listening to Spanish for 2,000 hours. So if you don't know what reading Spanish is, it's basically a website where you can learn Spanish, but what you do is you just watch videos because it's input based, right? So the method is like you watch a lot of videos, you expose yourself to input that your brain can understand, comprehensible input. And if you do this for a certain amount of hours, you can see it right here, then you'll be able to do certain things. I do like this channel, by the way, but he was reviewing this guy who has been doing reading Spanish for 2...
Wait, okay. So this is a response to somebody else's response, and the video that it was recommended to me in comments is a response to this. We're on multiple levels of meta here.
2,000 hours, okay? And he said something that caught my attention, so here's the clip.
I can wake up and order food and find a bathroom.
Oh god, he's saying after 2,000 hours that's what he can do? Wake up, order food and go to the bathroom? You can literally do that within 30 hours of Pimple.
When you've done 2...
Yeah, like, okay, so this is already a response to Evil D.
1,000 hours, what you can do is this. You can literally do that with 30 hours of Pimster. There's something wrong with this.
Yeah, I mean, and here, the problem, I think I see where he's getting at. Because the thing is, there's the ability to say things in a language, and then there's the ability to actually understand what people say to you in response. Like, somebody might be able to say, ¿Dónde está el baño? But when the response is... Hay que ir al fondo a la derecha, girar para la derecha y será la tercera puerta por allá, pero hay que tener cuidado porque el primer excusado está malo, and you won't understand a word of it. And being able to ask that and understand the answer that you get, those are 2 very different mental states. Like, one is just you've imitated sounds and you know what those sounds mean. The other is you can have an interaction.
My opinion. So let me explain. So in this video, Evil D, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
I think it's Evil D.
You seem surprised that this guy, after 2,000 hours of listening, is only able to do like these basic things, right? Like I wake up and I whatever he said.
Yeah, I mean, and you really have to ask. When he says he can do those things, does that include understanding? There's like the doing and the understanding, and he's talking about things he's definitely able to do. It sounded like that was not the complete list, but it does not actually tell me whether he's comprehending what's going on as well.
It sounds completely normal, so let me explain why. Okay, so here's my problem, right? The goal of this method, ALG, or comprehensible input, I guess, is to...
Okay, comprehensible input isn't a method, it's worth noting. It is an ingredient that is the basis of basically any method of language acquisition that works. You can build lots of methods around comprehensible input. Comprehensible input is just a necessary ingredient. Not the same, so it is not a method in itself. It's like saying wheat flour is a method of making bread.
Acquire a language naturally, like 100% naturally. With ALG especially, it's trying to imitate the process that you go through as a baby, right? And so expose yourself to the language, make these connections, and basically form a second language brain, right? Right from the start, by providing comprehensible input. Now, this is not going to be 100% similar as when you're a baby, because you're not a baby.
Yeah, I mean, and actually, the ways in which it is different are ways that make it, that are advantageous to the person acquiring a language. Because the thing about when you're acquiring your first language for the first time is you have no context for anything. There is nothing that actually makes any sense to you. You have nothing to hold on to, and that makes it way more difficult. Any time later in life, you're going to have more context. You're going to know what things are and what they do and stuff like that. And so any other time, actually, you will have more extra-linguistic material to fall back on in order to comprehend input, and you should be able to do it faster.
Learning a second language, but it's imitating this process. Now that's the goal. Now personally, I was really skeptical of this approach when I first heard about it, because I've learned Japanese for I don't know how many years. I started in like 2018, so I've always been into learning grammar. Grammar is fascinating to me, but when I first heard this method, I was like, that cannot be possible. How can you learn something without learning your grammar, right? So I was
well, I mean, simple, because the majority of grammar, the absolute majority of grammar, is not something that grammarians even put in grammar books. Like, the way that languages function, the rules on which they function, most people are not, most native speakers are not conscious of them. Linguists spend their careers trying to describe and explain them. But, so, we're acquiring all sorts of structures and grammatical rules and principles that nobody ever teaches us, and that we never get wrong as native speakers. You know, nobody actually makes a mistake with them.
but also intrigued. So I tried it out, and I'm still trying it out right now. I'm doing ALG as well. I'm at 150 hours. I will make a video about that too.
I'm not sure what ALG is.
But it makes total sense to me. It makes total sense to me, so let me explain. In my opinion, you're not learning a language, or you shouldn't learn a language to be able to say X thing.
Yeah, that makes sense, because the thing is, yeah, if you can just say X thing, whatever it is, that doesn't necessarily mean you can have the interaction that is built around saying X thing.
Like, oh, you can say this, I will do this method because I can say that faster if I do it like in this, using this method. So basically what you're saying is, I'm learning this language so I can say that, so I can have this result of, you know, saying something faster. So that's why I'm using this method. But
hi, Johan. And can you tell me, what does ALG stand for? The name is not ringing any real bells.
You're not learning the language to be able to say something. That's not a valid goal. Speaking as a goal doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Speaking should not be the goal. You should not say, I am learning this language because I want to say this in the language, or I want to say X. That doesn't work. Let me explain why. If that was the goal, then what you could simply do is remember whatever you want to say.
Yeah, and in fact there are people who will claim that you can become fluent really quickly by memorizing a bunch of high-frequency phrases. And that is fucking pointless. Just to, to put it mildly here. Because the thing is, just because you've memorized the phrases does not mean you can have an interaction. Supposedly, the point of having the language is, active language growth. Not heard of it. I'm going to have to check that out. Supposedly, the point of actually developing competence in a language is that you can actually have an interaction. You say a thing, somebody else says a thing back to you. You understand that thing, and building on that, you respond, and there's a conversation that ensues. If you've just memorized a bunch of phrases and all you're doing is focusing on getting the phrases right, you're not focusing on what the person's saying to you, and you're not going to be able to comprehend. You're not going to be able to do anything with it. So yeah, I mean, what he's saying so far is making sense.
I wanted to say, I really like doing X. Then I could just go online, translate that from Dutch, my native language, to, let's say, Japanese.
Okay, good. I was pronouncing his name right. It was either Dutch or Afrikaans.
Remember that, and then, hey, I can say this phrase, right? So I could just remember it, but that's not how language works. If language worked like that, then right now I would have to remember every single word that I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah, exactly.
A script, but you get the idea. I have something to say, a meaning, like a message with a meaning. I think of that, and I just know how to say it. I know how to say it because, well, that's just how language works. I think of it, and in speech, just
Hey, absolute language good.
out, you know? So like I said, the
Yeah, is there like lawful language evil then?
problem is when people are starting to learn a language and they say, hey, I want to know how to say this, they're going to remember how to say it. They're going to look it up, right? And the whole point of this natural learning ALG is to not look things up. You just expose yourself to the language, and your brain will make these connections. It will make a big like language model with neural connections, and based off of those connections and this model, you will be able to say whatever you want to say.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, and which is how the majority of our speaking in normal life works in our native language or languages that we're competent to roughly that kind of a level. We just say we know the thing we want and we say it. You know, there isn't a long conversation. You know, you're not having a long mental dialogue about how you're phrasing it and the grammar and stuff like that. That happens in very specific, difficult situations. Yes. But for the most part, we just say shit. Like, I'm not actively thinking about how I'm going to phrase what I'm saying right now. I'm just saying the thing.
If you look something up actively and you're trying to remember it or whatever, that defeats the whole point of natural learning, right? So you have a problem here. So if you...
Okay, so that's the first point he's making. I'm not watching... I'm going to skip through because I want to get to Evil D's response. That was what somebody asked me to check out. So, okay, this next section he calls Speaking Doesn't Prove Anything. And, I mean, we'll see what he has to say, but I would say it kind of depends on... You can tell, if you know what you're looking for, you can tell a lot from the way somebody speaks. Like, the degree to which they can vary what they're saying, the degree to which they use, like, stereotyped phrases and stuff like that, the degree to which it flows as opposed to seeming very scripted and stuff like that. I mean, so there are things you can certainly tell from that you can use to deduce the degree to which this is an effect of memorization, or a degree... or an effect of actually having acquired the language.
Right, and this is my other problem. For some reason we expect that with learning the language, we eventually learn to speak as well.
I mean, and generally that does happen. Like, if you acquire enough of the language on a passive level, eventually you start to be able to use it actively. Maybe initially it's just going on in your head. You begin to just be able to spontaneously construct phrases about things that you're thinking about in your head, or whatever, but eventually that tends to happen. If you spend a long enough time engaging with, the right kind of input in useful ways, it does happen.
And this is a problem because learning a language and learning to speak are two different things. They're two different processes. Like, we expect to be able to speak the language as a result of learning.
I mean, like, Krashen's research actually refers to speech as being something that emerges as a result of a certain degree of acquisition. Essentially, when you've acquired enough of the language that you can not only comprehend it, but actually use it actively, then speech kind of just naturally happens.
But that's the thing. Speaking does not necessarily come from learning. I mean, it could be, and it usually is if you're, for example, like learning.
Okay, I see where he's going. Yeah, that's true. I mean, somebody who's a good actor and is good at picking up like dialect and pronunciations and things like that could potentially memorize an entire dialogue in a language that they do not speak. Like, say, Gorman. Like, no, basically, I don't think it would be interesting to know, like, if enough of the Gorman language was created for Andor that somebody could potentially acquire and speak it. But I would imagine the people who play the Gormans in Andor, They were just, they were just memorizing lines and pronouncing it the way they pronounced it, very Frenchly. So, but since they're good at acting, it sounds very natural. That doesn't mean that they would necessarily be able to comprehend, Gorman to the extent that there's enough Gorman to have comprehensible input.
Actually, but it doesn't have to be. Like I said, you can simply remember a phrase and then say it out loud. You're also speaking, but that's not as a result of understanding.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, now we're just gonna skip ahead because I'm interested in what his main points are. Nee, verwechselt habe ich die beiden Wörter nie. Also ich kann mir vorstellen, dass man das höchstens ja so beim Übersetzen etwa aus dem Englischen verwechselt, aber so sozusagen in O-Ton Deutsch wahrscheinlich eher nicht.
About the language. So if speaking as a goal doesn't really work, and even if it did,
this is called the actual goal of speaking. So I'm curious, and I'm just trying to get a feeling for his point before we move over to Evil D's response.
Necessarily mean competence, then what should the goal be?
Okay.
It's actually very simple. I think there shouldn't be a goal at all. I mean, like I said, babies don't have a goal, right? No, but honestly, what is the goal?
Well, I mean, I think they do. It may not be a very well thought out one, but the goal is to be able to interact with their environment and understand what all the people around them are saying. They want to be able to comprehend it. They want to be able to express needs that they have. And, in the initial phases, they're just kind of making sounds because they're just trying out all these bits that are attached to them and discovering that they can control them to some degree or not. Or other, rather. But once they realize that they do have a level of voluntary control over it, and that other people also are using voluntary control to create speech, they do start to understand it as a way of expressing needs and things like that, and interacting with people.
Language, right? It's to communicate a message. The fact is that you can communicate a message with perfect speaking abilities or without them. You can have a whole understanding of the language, know perfectly how it works, and say something. Or maybe you don't know anything about the language, but you know this phrase, you can say it, and it'll convey the same meaning, right? Inside that language.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so what he's saying is essentially that there isn't... Yeah, he seems to be contrasting this with the idea that the goal is to be able to say specific things, which is what he started with. And he's saying, no, the idea is to have interactions and be able to express yourself in them. And, okay, so... giving him a bit short shrift, but I tend to overall agree with him on this. So, okay, so... now, this is the video I was asked to check out. This is Evil D. Why does nearly... I didn't know if you heard that, but that was thunder just now. Impressive thunder out of nowhere. Just as I was loading an Evil D video, so take from that what you will. Here's the link, dropping that in chat. This is why does nearly every language YouTuber say this? And so, okay, and this is a response to the Angelo van Roy video that we were just checking out.
Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to check out this video right here. It is called Language Learning YouTube Has a Huge Problem. Now, I've been tagged within this video, which means that this person wants to react. He wants to leech some subs off of me. It's okay.
Well, I mean, actually, he was responding. I mean, in this case, he was responding.
My man, I do the same shit. Anyway, let's watch the video together, and before we do, I will say I've sped it up a little bit. The reason being is because, well, I don't want these videos going for 40 minutes long, so if he does... sound like a little bit of a chipmunk, it'd be my fault, not his fault. Let's begin.
So that's this problem I've noticed in this online language learning space when it comes to actually speaking the language. And it's the fact that people are so obsessed with speaking the language. If you speak a language, then that is social proof and credibility that you are better than this other person who doesn't speak this many languages.
Because I feel...
I'm going to skip a little bit because we just watched him saying these things.
Level opposed to this guy over here who speaks one language, but he's a goddamn professor in the language, okay? I am actually very different in my thinking overall, where I don't look at like the sum of languages generally being that important, even though I investigate hyperpolyglots, because I feel like there is people out there who have dedicated 10 years to a language, okay? You know, 10, 20 years or whatever, and they don't get the same goddamn respect that they deserve compared to, say, someone who's spent, I don't know, 10 years doing like friggin' 10 languages at a basic level. So I do want to help those people who deserve that respect, even though they've only got one other language under their belt, because they've dedicated time to it. And I think that comes back from the fact that I spent like 10 years on Esperanto. Like, someone literally asked me in the comments the other day, how long have you done this for? Like, hours-wise. And I was like, I don't know, probably 10,000 hours or more, easy. And they're like, oh my god, why would you spend so long on a language? And it's like, well, realistically, it is what it is. I just kept going deeper and deeper, you know, I just enjoyed the process. But you know what? We need to show more respect to those guys out there who just focus on one language. Anyway, I don't know if that's going to be his argument. Let's see.
Because he's
I mean, it isn't.
more languages. So the whole idea is that the competence in this language is measured by how well you speak the language. So what's this problem? Well, if you break it down, which is what I'm going to do, you'll see that it doesn't make any sense. And yet society perceives it as completely normal, right? And I'm sure you've been in a situation where you speak the language and people are like, wow, you are so good at languages, this is how you do it, how you learn language. You are...
I just want to say one thing. It's very rare that I actually get those comments here in Australia. It's more along the lines of, why did you waste so much time? But then again, that could be because I, like, speak Esperanto. But even with Chinese, they're like, why would you... Why?
Well, okay, so Esperanto, you could probably get that in a lot of places, and Chinese, I mean, well, Australia is kind of fucking seriously racist. Ooh, more thunder.
Like, that's what I usually get here.
Perceived as somebody who knows a lot because you speak more languages. So I'm going to show you my thoughts in 3 parts based off of my experience. What I think, in my opinion, is language, like the nature of language, how we learn it, why we learn it. Because I believe that the way we define language and language learning right now is completely misunderstood. So first I want to show you this clip because this is actually what triggered my thoughts.
Oh shit, okay. I bet you this is an Evil D clip. Are we ready, boys? Let's do this.
Yeah, okay, so now I'm reacting to Evil D reacting to Uncle and Roy reacting to this other guy who I don't know who he is. We're in an onion here.
So some context, yes, I'm watching this guy who's watching another guy who's been doing compressed.
This is definitely me. Some guy watching another guy.
So listening to Spanish for 2,000 hours. So if you don't know what reading Spanish is, it's basically a website where you can learn Spanish, but what you do is you just watch videos because it's input based, right? So the method is like, you watch a lot of videos, you expose yourself to input that you will really understand, compressed input, and if you do it for a certain amount of hours, you can see right here, then you'll be able to do certain things. I don't like this channel by the way, but he was reviewing this guy
Thank you.
who was doing reading Spanish for 2,000 hours, right? And he said something that caught my attention, so here's the clip.
I would wake up and order food and find a bathroom.
Oh god, he's saying up to 2,000 hours, that's what he can do? Wake up, order food, and go to the bathroom? You can literally do that within 30 hours of him.
When you've done 2,000 hours, what you can do is this. You can literally do it with...
Yeah, I mean, and again, I feel like this guy probably had more to say there, and the look on his face suggests that he was being somewhat jocular.
30 hours of consider. That's something wrong with this, in my opinion. So in this video, he will be on. I'm sure I'm not very sorry. He seems surprised that this guy, after 2,000 hours listening, is only able to do these basic things, right? Like, wait, I wake up and whatever he said. To me, it sounds completely normal. So let me explain why. Okay, so here's my problem, right? The goal of this method, ALG, or comprehensive language, is to acquire language naturally. Like, 100% naturally, with ALG especially, is trying to imitate the process that you go through as a baby, right? So expose yourself to language, make these connections.
Okay, I just...
Okay, here we go. Yeah, I mean, I'm just zipping through because we just watched him say all this. I want to, in our last like 20 minutes ish,
say something here because so many people say this about ALG. Okay, guys, and it's so funny because the ALG guys, like the hardcore ones. Okay, I'm talking. Like, when I talk about people in general, I'm actually talking about the minorities of that community. Like, there's minorities in the ALG community that are completely off their heads. There's minorities in the Esperanto community, there's minorities in the community. Okay, so I'm talking about these guys. They will say that, oh, this is like how you learn as a baby. No. Babies do not learn like this. Do you think, honestly, a baby sits there for 2,000 hours just being quiet? Like,
yes, actually, yes. I mean, they've done fucking studies. I mean, I've seen him say this before, and he was wrong then too. In fact, that is exactly what happens. For a long time, I mean, for like a lot of the first year, the interaction with language is passive. And the engagement is, you know, babies are just hearing stuff. and they're trying to make sense out of it. You know, after they get to the point where they can understand, they can get as far as understanding that these things have meaning, which they don't initially. Like, there's an initial period of just kind of working out that all these, like, limbs and stuff are attached to them, and they have a certain amount of voluntary control. And at that point, they're not really making sounds that have any intent behind them other than trying out their vocal cords. No, I didn't say Esperanto is racist. I said Australia is racist. Because Australia is really fucking racist.
1,000 hours watching content in context? No. Okay.
Yeah, they do. That's exactly what they do, though.
Like, what does a baby do as soon as it can do it? It talks.
No. Yeah, I mean, we're talking about the period before that, though. I mean...
It will blabber, okay? It will
yeah, exactly. That is not... They're not... I mean, does he actually think that, you know, a 6-month-old baby is like, okay, I'm practicing my glottal stops now. We're gonna... you know, like this is like some sort of volitional, you know, where they're like deliberately trying to practice certain aspects of the phonology of the language spoken around them. Is that what he actually thinks is going on? Have a good rest of your day, Badger. Like, that's not how that works. That is literally, like, nobody, like, seriously, crack open a fucking book sometime and actually read about first language acquisition. I'm directing this at Evil D, actually, because what he's saying is just such complete nonsense. He clearly knows nothing about this, and he's made no effort to learn anything about this.
Noises, and it will test those noises against the parent's reaction.
Yeah, no, they're not carrying out controlled experiments. That's not how any of this works. I mean, later on, like, there's a first phase where they're just making random sounds with very little intent behind it. They do eventually, and this is actually after they have been listening very carefully to everything around them and absorbing it and trying to make sense out of it, then they will start to try to, you know, make sounds intentionally with some sort of meaning behind them. But that is not, like, that isn't what they start out doing, Jesus.
And based on the reactions it gets, it will repeat certain noises until it starts forming words.
No, actually, no, that's, like, that's not how any of this works.
And in fact, there's been studies done on this. I'm not like a study dude, okay?
Yeah, we noticed. We did notice that you're not a study dude. Because if you were, you would have read a little bit about first language acquisition, and you know that what you just said here is total bollocks.
So if you want to find these yourself, you can. But there's been studies that have done this that have showed that babies have tried to talk even before they had the capability of talking. So babies do not sit in a vacuum just listening.
That's not what a vacuum is either.
They do the full spectrum. They talk, they listen, they try to use visual cues, they use...
Like, he doesn't seem to understand that there are developmental phases. He's, like, conflating all these things. He's, like, seriously, maybe be more of a study guy, and you'll make less of an ass of yourself.
Use everything at their disposal to communicate as soon as possible.
Yeah, you see, again, there's that word, as soon as possible. Because the thing is that what we're talking about when we talk about language acquisition is the process by which it becomes possible. Like, for fuck's sake, mate. Like, do at least a little homework.
Now, does this negate the ALG method? No, like, the method works. I know it works. I've seen people use it and it works. But can we please stop pretending this is how babies learn?
Oh, I mean, it literally... I mean, I'm not going to speak about ALG, but we're talking about comprehensible input. It literally is. If we're talking about input-based... an input-based method where you're exposed to a whole lot of input, some of which is comprehensible, like an increasing amount of which becomes comprehensible because of extra linguistic cues that you start making sense out of, that literally is. Like, I mean, so many of his worst takes on language acquisition come from the fact that he seems like actively averse to learning anything about it.
This is not how they learn.
Yes, it
is
is.
Just as artificial as any other method out there.
No. I mean, like, no.
And basically form a second language brain, right? Right from the start, by providing...
Okay, and the second language brain, I think Psycholingo was the one who covered this. I might have got the channel name wrong. I'm terrible with
I mean, let's first of all note that that's a metaphor. Like, that is just a metaphor for the way, for the sort of connections that are made in the process of acquiring a second or further language. It can be considered imprecise. It probably, I mean, it is in the sense that we only have the one brain. But it is a metaphor, and it should not be, like, it shouldn't have more weight put on it than it was intended to hold.
I'll put a link in the description, but you don't have a separate language brain. You don't have...
Yeah, it's called a metaphor, dude.
Like an English brain, and then like a Chinese brain over here, for like an Esperanto brain, you know, back here in your freaking reptile brain. No, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, everybody who's using that phrase knows it doesn't work like that. They're trying to explain... They're like trying to explain how something feels. They're trying to explain the vibe of the experience. And this is what they come up with, because there does seem to be, there is a feeling of separation between them, even if it is obviously not a physical separation. Yeah. Okay. Next, next he's going to, like, critique the song Believe It or Not, I'm Walking on Air, saying, no, you are, look, there was a great video explaining that you are not walking on air. You are walking on something, so you try to walk on air, you're gonna fall. You're not walking on air. It's like everybody fucking knows. It's a metaphor.
Languages, they're not like perfectly circular off regions. There's crisscrossing and all sorts of stuff going on here. And you can
no
see
shit.
When you get communities of mixed languages where what they will do is when they talk, they will slot in words, sentences, whatever, and mix the language in order to basically improve efficiency of the conversation. So if it's more efficient to say everything in Hindi, they'll say it in Hindi, but if it's more efficient to say English, they'll say it in English. Okay, or if it's more trendy or whatever, but like...
Well, that's because there's a language called Hinglish.
That sits in your brain, it's...
There are things I like about his channel, but on the whole, I mean, the thing is, the minute he gets into anything deep about how language acquisition works, it becomes very clear that he's talking about things he knows nothing about.
It's completely... It's just like a mixture of neurons, and then you make certain pathways between them that strengthen certain connections. But still, it's not just like cordoned off areas.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's a fucking metaphor.
Comprehensible input. Now, this is not going to be 100% similar to a baby because, you know, I'm not a baby, 100% but it's imitating the process.
And another thing is, as a baby, you don't have a concept of language or anything realistically like we do now, so...
Oh, yeah. But you develop one very quickly, actually, because you're constantly listening to all these things in your surroundings, and it becomes clear that there's some kind of meaning being communicated. Somebody says something and somebody does something. And strangely, every time that person says this thing, the other person does this thing. And stuff like that. And those patterns, you gradually get the idea, even if you could not express the idea, that there is meaning being communicated. And that it is an interaction. And that it is an interaction using, you know, anatomical features that you also have and can control. So, yeah.
You're forced down the route of basically analyzing sounds and linking those sounds to visual.
Yeah, that is literally, that's the same thing. That is how you develop a concept of language. Jesus.
And physical cues within the world. But
yeah, like literally he's describing the process by which the thing happens that he says doesn't happen.
As a human adult, it is damn near impossible to put yourself in a state of nirvana where you do not automatically associate these things with other things, okay?
Well, yes, it is. I mean, you simply if you're exposing yourself to a language that you do not speak, and you are listening to somebody speak in it, most of what you're hearing probably, unless it's very similar to a language that you've already acquired, is going to be stuff you can't associate with anything. You know that somebody's speaking, you know meaning is being conveyed, but you don't have any connections with it. It doesn't mean anything to you. So, like, again, we're not gonna get to finish this. It's time for me to wrap up, but Jesus, like, do at least some. If he like spent as much time understanding these things as he does investigating internet polyglots, he would have so much better channel. Like, seriously, it would be because he would not make these kinds of glaring mistakes and annoy the shit out of people who know about this stuff. But okay, it is time for me to wrap up. Thank you again for everyone who joined in. It's always good to see you. I will be back at 4:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, and I look forward to seeing you then. Have a good rest of your evening.